Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of PhotoBiz Live. This is Danny from the PhotoBiz team, and today we're going to be joined by Sarah Petty for a webinar about creating value for your photography so you can charge what you're worth. So, as many of you already are familiar with Sarah, I want to go ahead and give her just a quick introduction, a little bit about Sarah, and this is just, again, a shortened bio of her. After only 5 years in business, Sarah was recognized by PPA Studio Management Services as having one of the most profitable studios in the country. With over 19 years combined of advertising and marketing experience at Coca-Cola, a top area advertising agency, and her own successful boutique photography studio in Springfield, Illinois, Sarah is thrilled to bring some of the top industry leaders together to teach you how they make a good living doing what they love. So in addition to getting the opportunity to learn from Sarah in today's webinar, we're going to have a question and answer session at the end. And you can submit your questions using the chat tool in the webinar software. You can also join the discussion on Twitter using the hashtag #PhotoBizLive. If at any point during today's webinar you have any difficulty hearing Sarah or seeing the slides that are on the screen, just use the comment box and let me know directly, and I'll do my best to help you troubleshoot that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Sarah. Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm fabulous today. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to hold up your precious time in today's webinar. I see we have a lot of attendees from all over, so I'm going to let you get started.
Fabulous, and thank you guys for carving out time to be with me today. I know there are so many things in a business that we have to be working on, from calling clients to getting clients to retouching images and putting orders in. But it's so important when we take the time to really think about our business and how we can be creating value and making sure our clients are having the best possible experience. So thanks for spending this time with me, and I hope that you leave with tons of notes. So grab a pen and a paper, because I want you to leave with so many ideas and to be inspired to really take your business and do something. Okay, I'm all about action steps. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself first. I want to start by showing you my favorite and best childhood portrait. Yes, that's me at the bottom. Sadly, no photos existed of me, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, and that's a big part of my story. I want to make sure that my clients have artwork for their kids when they're adults, unlike me. I think it's very important, and I share that story with everyone. Went off to college, and after college, I was fortunate enough to start my career with Coca-Cola, one of the top brands in the world. How can you not learn so many great things from them? But I feel like I got a really great start with a strong brand and knowing how to be dedicated to a brand. And that was huge for me. As Danny mentioned, I went off and I worked for an ad agency, and man, talk about marketing by fire. It was three of us. There was a graphic designer, a copywriter, and I was the marketing wing of this little ad agency. And we were landing big accounts because of our great creative and our great strategy and our marketing tactics. And we did everything. We did radio, TV, billboards, direct marketing. So I know that advertising works. But the thing is, especially today with budgets the way they are, you don't have budgets to do an effective TV campaign or radio campaign. Okay? We have to take our money and make every little penny work for us. But that was invaluable education. I went on and earned my MBA because I couldn't get enough of marketing. And then after I finished that, I was sad that I missed that education, and I went on to teach business at a small local community college. I taught business, I taught marketing, I taught management, and I think that's as much of a passion for me as doing it is teaching it and helping others know how to do it. And it's funny because teaching business and doing business are two different things. Okay, and I think that's what gives me kind of an advantage in this world of teaching, is that, you know, I'm not just a professor who's teaching it, I'm actually doing it just like you guys are every day. I opened my first studio on August 30th, 2001, and we know what happened 2 weeks later on 9/11. So it's never been a rosy economy for me in my business. In the summer of 2000, I had 6-month-old twins, and I realized I couldn't go back to the ad agency and work that many hours with these yummy new babies at home. So my photo lab, which you can see on the right of this photo, that's a photo lab there. We see where the people would drop off their film in that little yellow and red box. And they had this studio next door, and their customers were getting really ticked off that they were renting out a studio to consumers, which competed with their clients. So it was just sitting there empty. And I said, hey, what if I rent this from you for a while? So they said, sure. And it was pretty low rent, but I took this summer, fixed it up. As you can see, there are bars on the windows. So I was not in the fancy, swanky part of town, but I knew that I wanted to make a living doing this, and I thought, well, heck, if I can pay $300 a month in rent, I can maybe do this. And I tell you, like many of you started, probably, I was way underpriced. My system was broken. I was giving proofs away. It was just really, a crazy situation. And I figured out that I needed to get education because there were people doing it and making a profit. And I didn't want to wait years to figure it out. I wanted it to work immediately. So I dug in, I invested in education, I traveled around, studied with people. I remember driving up to Wisconsin 8 months pregnant because I didn't want to fly to study from Dart and Drake. And within 5 years, named one of the most profitable in the country. And I share this simply because I want you to know that I'm running a profitable studio. Okay, I think it's important when you're learning business that you're studying from someone who's where you want to be. There are a lot of people teaching right now who are brand new photographers themselves. So I've been doing it. I've worked out the bugs. I've made every mistake that is possible, and I've come through it, and I know you guys can too. So after I started teaching, I was getting so much feedback from so many of you that Erin, my Chief Joy Officer, you can see her on the left, she's also an MBA, and I think she's a brilliant marketer. We wrote a book called Worth Every Penny that hit the New York Times bestseller list. So thank you to those of you who bought so many of these books. But it really helped get the message out to people of how to charge what you're worth. And that's what I'm going to be sharing from today. Since I opened, I've expanded twice. I'm in a studio right now that has about 1,500 square feet in a little retail shopping district. And we are now starting construction on our new studio. We delayed it through winter because it was so snowy into March. So, and then April it rained like crazy. So we're getting ready to get that baby going, breaking ground any second. And the trees are cleared and everything. So if you come visit me in the future, you'll get to see this cool new building. But you don't need to have a new big fancy studio. You don't even need to have a studio to be successful. But it's even more important to create value for your photography. When you have a big fancy studio, sure, people think, oh my gosh, she must be expensive. But 98% of you aren't going to have that, okay? And you never need to have that. For me, it's just something that I really wanted to have a building where my husband's office could be and mine could be and our kids could spend time with us. So for us, it's more of a personal goal. It wasn't like I want to have a huge business with 1,000 employees at all. But especially if you don't want to have that, you can be profitable, but you've got to make sure you're creating value for your photography in other ways. That's how we charge what we're worth. So first, let's start with number one, create a strong brand. This is what I learned at Coca-Cola, okay? You've got to have a strong brand. Now, why is a brand important? I know many people think, well, I'll come back and do that later. I just need clients right now. Well, here's the reason. A brand is worth more. The number one reason you want to create a brand is so that you can charge more. Back in the days of the corner grocer, people would go walk down the street, they'd go in the corner grocery store, they would scoop out of a bin of flour and put that flour into a brown paper bag. They would go up to the counter and they would pay for it, okay? Flour was just flour. And then along came brands. And people realized that certain companies stood for certain things, that different brands valued different things, like maybe a process or a certain ingredient or a bottle shape they like. Whatever it is, people became willing to pay more for that brand. Now, when you're creating a brand, you've got to start with a strong identity. And your identity is how you look. This is a lot like your personal identity. Think about it. If you look like a different person every day, how will people recognize you? One day you're a redheaded female. The next day you're a dark-skinned black man, and the next day you're a petite blonde girl. People won't know who you are. Now, obviously, that would never happen in a person, but I think that's why plastic surgery, when it goes too far, we start to not trust people because we don't recognize them anymore. So with your business, you want to create a face and a style and a look for your business that people recognize. Okay, you want to be consistent with it. This means your logo, your colors, your design elements, your style, everything about what you're doing has to be recognizable to people. Okay, because your identity is how you look and your brand is how people feel about you. You want people to fall in love with you and your brand. They can't do that if they don't recognize you. They can't do that if they don't trust you and love you. You want to make them love you. And that starts by having a great brand. So I want you to ask yourself, do you have brand confusion? Okay, are you the one who's the creative schizophrenic that, I'm that way sometimes too, and I have to pull myself back, and I hire good people on my team to help me because it's like, ooh, that's cool, and then, squirrel, ooh, that's cool. And I love contemporary, and I love classic, and I love deep saturation, but then I like clean and crisp, but then I like distressed and grungy. There's so many things, but with your brand, you have to pick one. We always say, pick a pony and ride it. Pick a pony and ride it. All the ponies are beautiful, and you want to get on the black one and the white one and the polka dot pony, but you've got to pick one and go with it. Okay? So important to eliminate brand confusion. So action steps on your piece of paper that you have out, I want you to write that you need to create a graphic standards sheet. Okay, a graphic standards sheet. So what this is these are all the decisions of your brand. What's your color palette? What's your logo? What font is it? What font families do you use in the typography? What are the do's? What are the don'ts? How are things to be used? How are things not to be used? For most people, this can be a one-sheet piece of paper. Logo, fonts, design elements, colors. Make it really simple. Make those decisions. Put it on one sheet of paper and literally print it out and put it up on your bulletin board so that you're not making rash decisions like, oh, that's a fun font. I'm going to set my logo in that this week. No, your logo, even if it's made from a font, is one logo. Always the same, always the same, always the same. Okay, not stretched, not manipulated, not set with some of the fonts the same, but some not. Always the same. So please make a graphic standard sheet and your decisions will be so much easier in the future. Number 2, present your prices better. This makes you create value for your brand. Think about it. When you go to a really cheap restaurant, like not a McDonald's, but one where they give you a menu and you sit down and order like a cheap little cafe somewhere, it's not the cleanest, their sign's not that nice, they give you a wrinkly, spilled on piece of paper menu that's been markered over and whited out. The value there, you feel like, okay, we better get some really good prices at this place because that's what I perceive it's worth. You haven't even ordered yet. This is just value that they're creating. What is their food worth? And in my mind, it's not worth a lot. Versus you go to a fancy restaurant and you sit down and they have a gorgeous menu and a leather cover and linen tablecloths, and the guy stands there and pulls your seat out for you so you can sit down. And they have bottled water that they serve you with gloves on. Okay, and you know, because that beautiful price menu, that food's going to be better and it's probably going to cost more. So having a better price menu communicates that you're a better photographer, that you're worth more, you're going to cost more, and you're just downright better. So add that to your list. If you are just printing out prices on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, it's not good enough. It's so easy to get beautiful prices, guys. Press printed price menus, there's a tongue twister. We get these from White House Custom Color, WHCC.com. Easy, cost effective. These are, the left and the right are 5 by 5 folded, so the outside is the top and the inside is the bottom. The middle one at the bottom is our senior menu, because we have a few more requirements for the high school seniors. We want to make sure that they're investing more if they buy one of our bigger sessions, so they all have a collection or a minimum investment that they're tied to. So look how easy this is. And what else is cool is we can do a separate one for each target market. You do a run of 25 price menus, and when you're out, you order more. You don't need a several $1,000 investment to look really valuable. And if you can see, we offer the same things on both, but we have the painting on the left, it's of a little girl. On the right, it's of a dog. Okay, we have a series of 9 on all 3. We have a baby on the baby one, we have a senior on a senior one, and we have the doggity on the pet one. So people feel like we specialize in what they're looking for. People who come in for pet portraiture, oh my gosh, we specialize in pets and we give them this. Now, we do very few pets, but the pet people who come in invest a lot because they feel like we're specializing in what they do. Also about pricing, if you're thinking about discounting, that's the fastest way to devalue everything you've worked for. In every industry, guys, people compete with cheap. We compete with free. So you're never going to be cheap enough to attract the right clients. You're devaluing your brand, you're attracting a price-sensitive buyer, and you're also teaching your good clients to wait for a sale. So I'd rather you dig in and have just really good, solid marketing practices and relationship building and sales practices to get clients in the door rather than using price. It's going to devalue what you're doing. If you're cheaper tomorrow or yesterday than you are today, people feel like you're worth what that discount is, and then you have a really hard time charging what you're worth. Number 3, if you're going to create value for your photography, have fewer, cooler products. It's overwhelming, all of the cool things out there that we can sell. Back when I started I was doing photography kind of for fun and on the side starting in 98, 99, 2000. I was still working full-time at the ad agency. But all the local photographers had this tri-fold price menu. And they had 1,000 choices. They had the Rembrandt finish and the Picasso and the Monet, like 5 or 6 different finish choices for their artwork. And I'm thinking, why do I need that? It's overwhelming me. It's making it hard for me to make a decision. So you've got to figure out what cool products you want to sell. Starts by figuring out what makes you different. For me, I love the spontaneity of capturing emotion and silliness and laughter and deep thought and soft thoughts and silliness. What kind of products come to your mind for this? I'm not going to offer the same things that most photographers offer because that's what everybody else does, and that's mass. That's, Walmart offers this, 2 kinds of everything. I'm more boutique, and I want to specialize and offer specific things. Now, you don't have to be as boutique as I am for sure, but if you want to attract a higher end client, one who values what you do and loves you, you can do that by having fewer cool things that you do. I love to simplify. We do some hand-painted frames that are very high maintenance and a lot of work, but it really sets us apart from everyone else in the market. We do Wild Sorbet, and White House even has some boutique frames that are fun and whimsical and playful, and that allows us to set ourselves apart. Now, does that mean everybody buys those more expensive frames? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, but it shows that we're different and we're worth more. Here's my camera room on the left. My lights mount to the ceiling so I can shoot quickly. We paint our own backgrounds. I shoot through that cool circle ring light. I got that from Larson Enterprises. If anybody wants a really cool but not inexpensive look, I love it. I love the colored paper rolls. I love being able to shoot a lot of different things really quickly. On the right is my production space where we have all our unique frames that is not what everybody else offers. We have the whimsical frame, and we don't offer 10 million choices. That's literally our framing selection. In fact, it's even changed. We're doing fewer of the painted and a few more of the metals. My favorite company is from Italy, of course, called Roma. They're expensive, and most photographers won't sell them and can't sell them because they're too expensive. So, you know, that makes me stand out from everyone else because I've got something not everybody else has. Number 4, deliver a better experience. Okay, we've got to deliver a better experience for our clients because otherwise we're not seeming valuable. Okay, think about it. If you go to a mall photographer or a mass merchandiser department store photographer, you walk in with your child, you go in, you sit down, they take a few photos, they let you pick on the screen, you pick it, they push a button, they print it out, they give it to you in a little folder or plastic bag, and you walk up and pay for it. What is that experience worth? I don't know. I don't think I've ever really done that. I always thought I should, and you guys should probably too. But I never even could go through the pain and suffering of dragging one of my toddlers into one of those stores. But then think about going on a photo adventure where you go out into the wilderness and the photographer has some lions and tigers that come up and let you pose by them. Granted, I don't know how that would ever happen, but I'm just trying to contrast a completely different experience. And then it's weeks before you go see the images, and the photographer has done some really cool things with those images. The photographer has done some collections and some series and is going to show them to you huge on the wall or in your home to size, to scale with the frame on it exactly how the artist sees it done. What is that worth? What is the difference in those two experiences? I mean, looking at the photography, you could have a fantastic photographer who happens to work at a department store, and they're just starting their career and they're going to school, but they have some natural gifts and talents. You could actually get some really, really great photography there. And maybe this photo safari, the guy's having a bad day, his wife just left him, he's bummed out, and he doesn't give a lot of effort, and the images are just okay. But yet still, in the mind of the consumer, which one is worth more? The one that gives the really awesome experience, because people are talking about it for the rest of their life, this experience that they had. Let me share with you some of those that I've had and tried to create for my clients. A while back, I had a little girl client come in, and I photographed this client literally every year since she was a baby. So she's now, let's see, what is she, 12? Maybe she was like 10 or 11 in this. I think she's 11 or 12 now. And, you know, when you have a client coming back year after year, I feel like you have to work harder with those clients. You absolutely have to have an in-person consultation. Sometimes I go to their house. I do whatever I can to keep thrilling them. And if I take them for granted, they're going to go somewhere else because they're bored. I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. So with this little girl, we took my daughter's bed. This is actually shot in my yard. We took my daughter's bed out into the yard. We made up the bed all, you know, nice and snuggly. And then at the end of the session, you know, we got some jumping on the bed, which those are fun anyway, jumping on the bed, laying in the middle of a big yard with a bed. But then at the end, we cut open the pillow and let her just throw feathers everywhere. It was the craziest, most insane session I've ever had. And we live kind of at the edge of a smaller town, but there's a lot of traffic that goes by. And people are still saying, oh my gosh, remember that day you had a bed out in the yard and feathers everywhere? What were you doing? You're so creative. You know, they're talking about the experience. This lady, the mom, is gushing to her friends. Oh my gosh, look at what Olivia got to do. We went out in the yard and pillows, and, you know, she's blowing feathers at the camera. I got a ladder and shot from above of her doing snow angels. I mean, it was just the most fun session ever. And it's something that this kid is going to talk about forever. Something the cars driving by are going to talk about forever. Well, and actually it's something my husband, who was the one mowing those feathers, is still talking about and will probably talk about forever. But I'm sure people driving by were like, oh, look, the petty pile of feathers is getting smaller and lighter and smaller and lighter as he mowed all summer. But compare that experience with going to a chain store. No comparison, right? I had another client who came in with 7 children. Yes, and they were about 10 years apart-ish. I mean, the little one was 4, I think, and the oldest one was 16. So what does that make them? Like 12 years apart. Really close in age. In fact, I had a hard time keeping their names straight because there were like 3 little boys that looked just alike. And it was a little crazy of a session, but I love that. That's what I love. I don't want an easy family of a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old. That's boring. I want some magic and chaos and action. So they came in and we did different family combos and laughing and snuggling and this and that. And finally the little ones were done. They're like, I'm done, I'm done. So we sent them over to the treasure chest to play. And the little one came walking over and he had found this mustache and he put it on and he said, I want to take my picture. So the whole family's cracking up and he sits up in the chair and we take his picture. And then the next kid says, well, take my picture. And then the next kid, take mine. And this happened with very little direction. I wasn't telling them at all what to do. They were just having a blast. The little guy didn't smile. I mean, that's kind of his personality. Look at him up at the top. The little sister crossed her eyes. The brother on the right made a unibrow. And the little brother, or the older brother on the bottom, was Mr. Professor with the dad. And the older sister, by the time it got to her, there was no glue left on the mustache. So she's cracking up. And it just tells the story. You know, she's the easiest one because she's the oldest, so she probably gets last dibs at the dinner table. It's just go with the flow. So if you really look at this, it tells their personalities. And the funny thing is, the dad came in to me later. Every time, like the dad would come in and he just kept saying, oh my gosh, this was the funnest thing we've ever done. This was as fun as we went to Disney. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that is awesome. And so when he came back to order, I put this collection in there thinking they're going to laugh and maybe I can get them to buy a small little framed collection of this because they've got to have it. It's just hilarious. He bought it huge. And the wife agreed and the kids agreed and they loved it and they have it in their dining room over where they eat. Now, tell me how people feel when they come into this house of this, you know, big family and they walk into the dining room and see this hanging over the table. What do you think about this family? You think, oh my God, that is the coolest family. And who took that photo? Because it's so much fun. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So for me, that's just awesome. You know, that I can create such an awesome experience for, you know, my clients and their 7 kids. They've got like the Partridge Family thing going on. And I don't know, it's just one of those things. So again, look at the experience that you're creating with your clients versus the expected experience that they're going to get somewhere else. Okay, over and over and over again. Okay, number 5 way to create value for your brand is to have better marketing. Okay, you've got to have better marketing. Your marketing is a sampling of your business. Okay, most people don't get this. They just think it's something completely separate. But let me tell you a story. Think about your favorite lobster restaurant. Okay, suppose you go to dinner at a lobster or pasta place, something really expensive where you go for birthdays and anniversaries, and you know it's delicious food, it costs more, but it's worth it, right? So suppose you're at a street fair, you know, like Taste of Chicago, they have those in all big cities, and you see all these cool restaurants out there displaying their food and sampling, and you see the sign of your favorite restaurant, and you run over there, and you look down at the table, and they have a plate of Wonder Bread with grocery store butter on it in little bitty bite-sized squares. And you say, but what are you doing? You have the best lobster and pasta or steak or whatever in town. Why are you sampling bread and butter? And the owner would look at you and say, well, my budget goes farther if I do it this way. So clearly, when you look at it that way, that's very clear to all of us, isn't it? That that's stupid for a delicious, fabulous restaurant to sample bread and butter. But if you're a fabulous photographer and you're sampling your business with a cheap, ugly, poorly designed postcard, that's exactly what you're doing. You're telling people that you are inexpensive and not worth more, okay? So first you want to be proactive and not reactive. If you're not thinking about marketing, when opportunities come up, you're A, not maximizing them, or B, you're missing them. Okay, so for example, auctions. School auctions are a great way to market your business. But when I first started and I didn't know a lot about, this as a marketing opportunity, people would ask me and I'd say, okay, I'll give to your auction. I'd give them a picture maybe or something to put out at the auction. And, I would think it doesn't really work. I didn't get good clients. And then I finally had a year where I thought, okay, I'm going to get ahead of the game this year and really plan this out. I started asking people in the industry, what do you do at auctions? How do you make it work? And I kept getting all these great ideas. People saying, make sure you put on there a call within 10 days to validate. So I was getting their name and phone number, and I was able to talk to them and find out what they wanted. And I started using all these ideas. I created a great display. I put out a beautiful promotional piece. I started doing all these things. Every single time now I get a new client from the auction, as I should. So now my marketing is working because I'm being proactive and not reactive. I know it's happened to every single one of you where someone calls with a great opportunity, but you're just too busy to take it. Or you take it and you do a sloppy job and, that's all she wrote. And you're not able to maximize that opportunity or turn it into a client. Here's an example of what I call an establishing piece. And this is how I have built my business. My whole philosophy is to do fewer things better. Okay, just like the lobster restaurant. I would rather you sample fewer people and get the right people than trying to sample everyone at that street fair and not getting any right client from it. So this lobster restaurant, for example, at the street fair, when everybody's giving free samples, they could have said, hey, have a little bitty sample, like, a half a plate, little sample plate full of a delicious little something just scrumptious, but it's $3 and $3 goes to charity. So all you're doing is you're pre-qualifying people. You're not doing it to make money, but you're not just getting everybody who's looking for free food to sample your lobster. You're getting the right clients. And when you send a beautiful, gorgeous piece like this, people are saying, oh my gosh, this photographer is awesome. Nobody is saying, oh, I'm going to see if they have any specials today. Okay? This piece here built my business. It was printed by Marathon Press, so check them out, marathonpress.com. And it's a four-fold piece that has these 4 inserts. So each piece talked about a different part of my business, our hand-painted framing, our new baby products, our relationship products, and then our toddler older products. And I was able to customize it when I got leads. I was able to go out there to some qualified audiences with this and let them raise their hand and see what they were interested in. But more than anything, it built my brand and positioned me as a leader in the marketplace. And that's something every one of you can do. So instead of spending more money and trying to do this, it's the same amount of money. You're just doing fewer things better. You're taking that lobster budget and you're actually sampling something as high quality as your lobster instead of serving bread and butter to tons of people. That's never going to bring them into your lobster restaurant, okay? You've got to wow people with your creativity. You've got to show them that you're creative. And I do this every year by putting together a dynamic holiday card. I've done the cootie catcher. Remember that? Pick a color and pick a number where you do it, fold it all up. Google it if you don't know. And I did that one year for high school seniors. For our holiday card, we did a couple years ago the rad libs and the bad libs. And then inside, see how it says a family bonding game? And then inside, people could fill the verb and the noun and the things that filled out their holiday card. My brother-in-laws, as ornery as they are, filled it out with inappropriate adjectives and verbs. And so they're off the family holiday card list. But I just pictured my clients engaging with my brand. Okay, please don't buy a pre-printed holiday card at some greeting card company. We're photographers. Let's show off our mad photography skills, get people excited about what we do. This one on the left was much more expensive. It was a pop-up ornament that laid flat and then popped up, and I put it in people's cards and mailed it out in the envelope, and they'd open the card and it would pop out. People were leaving me voicemail messages and emails about, oh my gosh, I got the best surprise in my mailbox. It jumped out at me. And that is brand engagement, people. That is people engaging with a brand. Totally. Okay, you've got to show them you're creative. You can't just tell them. Also, website. Every single one of you should have at least one, if not many, but a dynamic website. Okay, back when I first started, the web was just getting going. And I spent thousands trying to get this custom website, and it was slow and it was bad and it didn't do what I wanted. And then I'd want it to do something else and they would tell me, okay, it's, $4,000. And so I'd save, and I spent all this money trying to create this crazy custom website. Well, guys, it's not that way anymore. Thanks to PhotoBiz, I have two super awesome, easy to navigate, quickly navigating websites. And I tell you, I've worked with photographers for years, and I've seen them say, yeah, but I want mine to be better. And they hire some custom company, and it's slow, and it's clunky, and it doesn't work. And I keep saying, why would you do that when you can make this small investment? And I know they're templates, but they're completely customizable templates. Okay, so template doesn't even do it justice. But it's a way for you to take these highly functioning, speedy templates and designs and customize them to yourself and make your business really shine. So I have one at sarahpetty.com that you can check out. And I also have one now at sarahpettyseniors.com. And the thing I love about PhotoBiz too, if I can just brag for a minute, is their passionate support team. I had been with a couple web companies before them, and they were basically like, yeah, email us and we may get back to you one day. It doesn't work that way with these guys. They were calling us after we signed up with them. They're calling us saying, have you gotten your website up? What can we do to help? What do you need? What do you need? And I told my staff, I said, you guys need to do this because I'm not the person that needs to be sitting doing our website. I need you to know how to do it. I need you to be uploading images, changing it, doing fresh designs. I need that to happen without me. A couple hours later, Andrea called. She's like, Sarah, oh my gosh, it's done. It's awesome. The passionate support team called me. They helped me set it up. I love them. And I was like, okay, sold. And I'm like, what other fun things could I do to create a website for that was so easy? And what's cool too with our seniors, we kind of have a fresh new campaign every year. So we want our site to change. And when you sign up there, you get access to all of their templates. So in a year, if you want a fresh look and a feel, you just change, the template, and you can upload different designs, and you have a totally different look and feel. And for the high school seniors, I think that's perfect because they're looking for fresh new things all the time. Also, marketing doesn't always need to be about getting new clients all the time, okay? Doesn't need to be about getting new clients. I tell you, that's, I think, the biggest way I've built my business and created value is by giving love to my current clients. Okay, that makes me really valuable in their eyes, and they want to refer me to the right kinds of clients. I'm not using discounts or offers or price incentives or anything on these. These are simply gifts to my best clients. On the left, I sent to my top clients a custom leaded glass ornament that I worked with a local artist to make. I literally pulled a ranker of sales at the end of the year, and I pulled images from the session that I loved, and I created this ornament. It says ho, ho, ho on the back. One year I did holiday cards, or actually, I'm sorry, they're not even holiday cards, they're just note cards, but I sent it to them at the holidays with just a personal note from me. And I picked an image that I loved, not necessarily their favorite image or what they bought, but the one that I wanted them sending in a note card to 25 people. One year we had people come in and pick them up. Some years we mail them out, or some years we give them a choice. But every year people come in thinking, oh, what gift am I going to get? And they leave like, I can't believe you gave me this. This is the best gift I've ever gotten. This is so thoughtful. And I'm not talking about getting them a fruit basket or a car wash. Gift them something that shows your art, and preferably something they can't buy. My clients can't buy this leaded glass ornament. So every year when they're decorating their tree, I picture them pulling out this leaded glass ornament saying, oh my gosh, look at her little baby teeth. She's lost all her teeth this year. I'm so glad we did that when we did. And they're feeling sentimental and emotional. Now, some of you, if you don't celebrate Christmas, that's fine. Pick a different time of year, a season, or just an end of the year thank you. Could be a beginning of the year thank you. It doesn't matter. The point is you want to give your clients love so they continue to refer you and talk about you and completely love you. Okay? Oh, I love talking about this stuff, and it gets me so excited. As you can tell, I'm like 100 miles an hour. But I wanted to leave time at the end so we have plenty of questions. So I want you to go back to your notes on these 5 things, and let me just review them for you really quickly. Okay? First, we talked about creating a strong brand. So tell me if you have branding struggles or branding questions. 2, presenting your prices better. Pricing is so huge and so important, and I'm about to share with you a pricing event that can really help you. 3, have fewer, cooler products. If you're confused on that, let me answer questions on that and help you get clear on how to do that. Deliver a better experience. Let me know how I can help you with that. And the biggest thing I can say there is to have an in-person consultation every single time. That's when I plan my experience. And number 5, have better marketing. If I can help answer any marketing questions, please ask me, because you have a budget, which is about 8 to 10% of your sales, that you can invest in marketing. And you need to make sure that every single dollar makes you money. Every single dollar. I want to share with you a few additional resources, and then I will open it up for Q&A. First, the next 2 days, we have an event free at the Joy of Marketing called Pain-Free Pricing. So I talked to you guys about needing pricing. We have a free template from White House Custom Color, but I interview 9 others, and then Joyverts interviews me, but I go deep with them on their pricing. Why are you doing collections? Why are you doing a la carte? What are these bonuses? How are you increasing your sales? How are you doing this? Okay, it's free, and I tell you what, this is one of the best events we have ever done. You've got to figure out pricing if you're going to make it work. And there's also a way, if you want to make an investment in the course and you get all 10 hours of the audio files, you get every single speaker's price menu. So you can follow along with them as they're talking about it, and I just think it's amazing. So set aside the next 2 days, you guys. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And of course, if you want a free chapter of our book, I really want you to spend time reading and learning about how to do the things that I'm talking about. So go to joyofmarketing.com/our-book. Okay, and grab a chapter, see if you love it. You may end up getting the book. And I tell you what, it's so funny how many years and blood, sweat, and tears went into a book that you can buy for $25. I think it's the best $25 that you can spend. And every time I buy a good business book that opens my eyes to something, I always think, God, $25, that's just the best investment. So I have those 2 resources right here, painfreepricing.com and how to get a free chapter of our book. And now I'm so excited, Danny, for you to be throwing some questions at me, because I feel like that Q&A and the feedback portion of these webinars is what makes it so valuable for people. So I can hear what you're struggling with and hopefully clarify some of those things for you.
All right, awesome, Sarah. And I am going to go ahead and open up this time now for all the questions to come in, and let's see what we've got. So I see a couple people typing in some responses, so we'll give everybody just a second.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I think the biggest struggle I see with people, is everybody wants more customers. And the thing about that is you've got to do the foundational work first, knowing who you are and having that identity. Getting that consistent on your website and your business card and everywhere that you're doing business, that's one of the biggest things. that people can do. It's not just about, picking a font and throwing a website up, but it's getting clear on who you are and what's different about you.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you 100%. So I'm just trying to sort through some of the questions that are coming in here, Sarah, so give me just one moment and I'll get right to them.
Sure.
Okay, so the first question comes in from Sarah Sims. Sarah asks, Sarah mentioned don't discount. What about loyalty type rewards for repeat customers or referrals?
Sure. Well, a loyalty for a referral is not a discount. I mean, that's something that they've earned. So in our book, actually, we have a whole chapter on when discounting is okay, and we give a bunch of times. Discounting can work when there's a reason. So for example, packages are a viable discounting strategy where people know that if they're investing $799 in a collection, they're going to pay less for each of those products than if they bought them individually. So there's a reason for the discount. If they refer someone to you, and we used to have a more formal program where we'd send them a $100 gift certificate. They worked for that, so there's a reason for that. The discounting I'm talking about is just a knee-jerk reaction to, oh my gosh, I don't have any clients, I'm going to go out on Facebook and put half price on anything today. So the discounting I want to keep you guys away from is discounting to attract clients, because you're going to attract those price-sensitive clients, people who don't care about what you're doing. Now, if there are ways to give your current clients better value and better pricing as they invest more with you, then that's something totally different. But that's a very good question. For me, it's pretty clear. If it's just a no reason, just discount to get clients, that's when you start to get in trouble.
That's a great answer, Sarah. We have even more questions coming in. This is great. Now they're really starting to roll in here. So the next question here, this question comes in from Dana Van Gilder. Dana asks, I'm starting out in the photography field this year. What is the best advice that you have for how to get my first client in my door? What do you think is the best way to market to get my first clients?
Great question. Great question. So I'm assuming you have a style and you have a website, preferably a PhotoBiz website, where people can easily see who you are and what you do. But the biggest thing when you're first starting and you have little budget is that you have to get out there. You have to talk to people. Co-marketing is a great way. So for example, if you have a friend who owns a business, you could go to that friend and say, hey, look, I want to gift your 10 best clients with a free photo session. And I'll give you the images to use on your website. I'll give them a free image or two for Facebook. And then if they want to purchase something, that'd be awesome. So you work with that business owner. They send out a note to people, or they just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, you've been a best client as a gift. I want to do this for you, but you know what? It's got to happen in this next month because this photographer is building her portfolio, and we have some deadlines with my products needing to be on the site. If you're interested, I'll have her call you, and then you call and say, hey, I'd like to have a consultation first so we can plan your session, and I'll also do photos, for your home as well, so we can plan those. And if they say, oh, no, I'm just doing whatever you want, I don't want to buy anything, that's fine. You do a few images for the store owner, and you don't have to go crazy trying to sell them a bunch of stuff. But most people will be thrilled to have the opportunity to get photos because they haven't done them lately. And so you put them in and you talk to them about, show them where they go, you have the consultation, you plan it, and then you've got a client, you've got sales, you're building your portfolio, and hopefully you thrill them and they will be referring you.
I love that answer and love that idea of working with other businesses to expand that marketing, get those first clients in the door. So hopefully you can try that out, Dana, and you'll get good results from that. Next question here is going to come in from Elizabeth. And Elizabeth has a very similar question, so hopefully she took in that advice. It was along the lines of she's actually opening up her first studio, so there might be that difference since she's actually going to have a studio. So do you have any additional suggestions on that same topic for someone who's just opening the doors to a studio, Sarah?
Well, hopefully if you're opening a studio, Elizabeth, you've been in business for a while. For those of you who are wanting a studio, the rule of thumb is 10% of your gross sales for overhead. Okay, so if you're doing $100,000 in gross volume, that gives you $10,000 over the year to put toward a studio, and that's overhead, utilities, everything. So that's like $600 or $700 a month plus utilities is about where you are. So when you have a studio, you can take that co-marketing to the next level by doing an event with another business. And when I say another business, my gosh, it could be a massage therapist, a hair salon owner, a deli owner, an orthodontist, a dentist, anybody you know who owns a business. Do something with them where you invite their clients in, and maybe you donate that money to charity, the session fee for the day, and find a charity that has a big list, and they'll promote it for you. And get everybody promoting this, and you get some publicity in the newspaper because you're donating to charity, and create a buzz, and all of a sudden people will be talking about you.
Awesome. All right, and let's see. This question comes in from Brenda. Brenda asks, how do you feel about paying to showcase your work in malls, shopping centers, and other examples like that?
I'm not a fan of that, and I'll tell you why. They're not cheap. Okay, they're charging you based on the traffic that they have in a mall, and while most of those people aren't even your target market, yes, some of them might be, but it's a lot of money. And I've seen photographers investing $800 to $1,000 a month. Do you know what I could do with $800 or $1,000 a month to make people come into you? I mean, that's $10,000 to $12,000 a year, where I could get people, I could do a beautiful promotional piece like I showed you for probably $2,000 or $3,000, mail it out to a charities list of pre-qualified people, or a list of a store who shares my target market, maybe a store who sells to high school seniors, or a store who sells to new moms, and I know all their clients have a baby or a toddler. I'd way rather see you use your money to generate a response rather than just putting image advertising out there and hoping people call you. It doesn't work that way anymore. And malls are dying. The traffic in malls are dying. You can negotiate it for like $500 for the year. I may consider it. But then you also have to sample your best work. You have to constantly be changing the display. That's a lot of work and a lot of money. Just to put up one display and then leave it there isn't going to work for you either. So it's more than just the money. It's the time, it's the effort, it's the new displays, it's all of it. So same thing goes for magazine advertising. It's brand image advertising, and if you put a price offer, you're a discounter. There are better ways to attract clients.
All right, next question comes in from Dana. Dana asks, when do you think it's the best time to show clients your price list? During the pre-consult or at the time of the in-person sales consultation?
I am a big fan, Dana, of showing them prices and telling them prices on the very first phone call. I actually have a system, I call it the 7 Bs, B as in boy, where you start by being optimistic, then you build rapport, because people like to do business with people who they like, so you want to be likable. Then you want to be asking questions and find an affinity, so you want to find something that you have in common with people. People like to do business with people that are like them. And then you need to tell them what makes you different. Okay, so you have to be clear on that. All of that happens before you tell your prices. So when they call and say, what's an 8x10? You say, absolutely, I'd love to share that with you. Let me find out first a few questions. So what am I photographing? Is it a family? Is it a baby? Is it a senior? And you're laughing and you're having fun with them. And then you say, well, look, we are very different. Let me tell you what makes us different. And then I'm happy to share prices, and I share pricing. If they want me to email it, that's fine. But usually by then, they know if I'm the right business for them. Then when they come into the consultation, I give them that price menu. You saw the one I give from White House Custom Color, the 5x5 folded. I give it to them to take home. I don't want any surprises. I don't want anybody to come in who doesn't know what they're getting and isn't excited about it. I would feel terrible if someone got in that was just really price sensitive, and I did all this work and I'm showing them these beautiful images and then they're horrified. They thought they got a disc for $200. Okay, so I'm very clear to give that information on that first phone call, and I'm not embarrassed or ashamed. I mean, we work really hard for every single client, and I'm excited to share what makes us different with them. Thanks
That
for that question, Dana. I'm sure a lot of people have that same question. That was good.
that was a great question. Thank you, Dana. Okay, so looks like I've got through all the questions so far, Sarah. I wanted to extend this time out to everyone who's in the webinar. You know, if you do have any additional questions, go ahead and just send them over. We'll give everyone just another minute or so to type them out, and if not, then we'll wrap things up. But while everyone's doing that, I did just want to again comment and thank you for the great presentation today, Sarah. There was so much, you know, information that you shared that I feel like everybody here can walk away with something learned today.
Well, good. I hope so. I hope so. And hopefully marketing isn't as scary. It's not about buying ads, guys. It's about building relationships with one person at a time and adding them to your database and communicating with them and giving them love, just like you do your friendship database. You build friends, you build friendships, and you add friends, and you make friends, and you keep in touch with them, and you love them, and you take care of them. Think about your clients that same way, and they will take care of you.
That is great advice, Sarah. And I have another question that just came in here. We got a few more that popped in. So Sarah actually asked this question again. Sorry, I missed it the first time, Sarah. So a lot of Sarah's here today.
I know.
She asks, what avenue did you find best for advertising? I live in a smaller town, and I have trouble figuring out what avenue is best for advertising.
Yeah, advertising isn't something that we do. I have hardly ever advertised. It's about marketing. It's about co-marketing with other businesses. It's about doing charitable marketing, participating in auctions. It's about generating publicity. So the media is talking about you. You're not having to pay for those ads. It's about getting involved in your community. It's about learning how to sell. Advertising isn't working. It isn't going to work for small businesses with small budgets. It's just we're too small, and you don't have the budget to compete with Budweiser and McDonald's. You absolutely don't. For advertising to work, you need to invest thousands each month, and you need to have frequency and repetition. You need to have a professionally produced message, which costs money. I mean, advertising is a word that I want you guys all to take out of your vocabulary. Okay, it's a lot. It's harder but easier. It's easier because you don't have to write big checks to the media, but it's harder because you have to get out there and talk to people and learn how to sell. We have all kinds of selling information on our site at joyofmarketing.com. And, you know, people are afraid to sell. And good selling isn't pushy or smarmy or salesy. Okay, good selling is about finding out what people need and creating it for them. I love creating huge, funky, crazy custom artwork for my clients for their homes and thrilling them. Okay, it's not about getting them in and then shoving something down their throat. Yuck. I don't want to do that, and I don't want that done to me. Okay, so learning those sales skills will benefit you more than any advertising you do.
I totally agree with that, and I think that's great advice that you've got for everyone, Sarah. Now I am getting a lot more questions that came in on pricing, so I want to, turn that back over to you to let people know where those resources are. I know you have them up on the screen here, but if you just wanted to touch more on that, we're getting a lot of questions that are coming in about, again, discounts, putting together pricing and packages, specifically when the discount, more questions on pricing overall, minimum orders. Where would you want to send them over to so they can have some info to look at?
For sure, you guys, if you are struggling with pricing, the next 2 days, go to painfreepricing.com. Register right now for this free event. Okay, that way you get emails reminding you. But 10 industry leaders, and I go through with each one of them what their pains were, how they figured pricing out, because just like me, I was completely underpriced when I started and I didn't even know it. Julia Woods found out and she was in tears. She had to go home and tell her husband that they were actually losing money, and she said, I'm turning this around in 6 months, or I'm doing something else. She figured it out and she turned it around, and she shares that with you. But what's really cool about this event, and we've never done it this way, is that I have each speaker's price menu, and I go through it with them, and I'm asking them, like, why are you doing collections? Why are you doing a la carte? What are these bonuses for? Lena Hyde shares how she increased her average sale, or it generated $40,000 extra the year before by making one little change. So, my gosh, if you have time, listen to these speakers. They're sharing with you all of these different strategies, and, it's it's so hard because you go to conventions and you hear somebody say, oh yeah, I do a la carte, it's the best way, or I do packages, it's the best way. And I really dug into with them on this strategy, because what's the best way for me may not be the best way for you guys. So if you understand why I'm doing a la carte and why someone else is doing collections and why someone else is doing minimum investment, you can look at your business model and say, oh my gosh, this second way is the one that works best for me. And then this person's doing bonus incentives at certain price points. That works for me. I'm going to add that in. And so instead of just making decisions blindly where you're like, oh, that looks like a good idea, you actually understand pricing strategy and you can implement some of these ideas. So the education's out there. You can learn the lessons the hard way, or you can listen to these 10 people who have learned them and are out there sharing. Totally free. painfreepricing.com. So
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage everybody to head over to painfreepricing.com. You can obviously sign up just like Sarah said. It's got all the info right there on the website at painfreepricing.com. So I feel like everyone in here who has questions about pricing should get signed up for that. That's awesome.
yeah, thank you so much. It's a great event and I'm really excited about it.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah, I am going to go ahead and wrap things up. I wanted to thank everyone for their great questions today. And thank you again, Sarah, for taking the time to present today, and everybody who joined us. So I did want to give everyone one more heads up. You guys, just some of the sites we talked about today, obviously you can visit Sarah on her website, which is a PhotoBiz website. You guys also can check out joyofmarketing.com and painfreepricing.com. And when you guys get a chance, head over to the PhotoBiz blog so you can take a look at the next webinars that are up and coming. So we do have future webinars. As you know, we host them generally every Tuesday at 2 p.m. And we will have a webinar on unlocking the power of Marquee Plus pages, which is a tool in one of the PhotoBiz platforms we have. So thank you again, Sarah. And I really appreciate you taking the time in the middle of the day to present this great information with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Danny, and thanks for all the awesome things you guys are doing at PhotoBiz. Our industry really needed somebody who understands customer support. It's huge, and everybody can learn from what you guys are doing. I love all of you, so thank you.